Yo, what's up? This is the JayDennis Podcast for Tuesday, July 27th, 2021, about 1:15 in the afternoon, and I am, I guess welcome to the travel edition, because I am driving my happy ass back down to Vegas. Yep, just spent a week up north in northern Nevada. Let me say that again. Nevada. And even though it was really busy, yeah, I guess it makes sense. Since it was busy, it just kind of flew by. We mainly went up to celebrate two particular family events, but it didn't mean that the week wasn't still chock full of other social and household activities. Because again, we went back to our old house, which we kept, and there was quite a few things that needed to be taken care of. Because even being away there for a month, there needed to be some work done on it. You know, had to come get a drain snaked by a plumber in our basement. Had to get something fixed in our kitchen sink. Had to do a little bit of yard work and pull some weeds. And, you know, we got landscapers that come out, but, you know, it doesn't mean that the weeds and a few other things aren't still persistent. So, you know, I was just like, shit, you know, I was really getting things in place, and now I got to leave this lawn that I put so much work into. I didn't even get to optimize the sprinkler systems yet, so that, you know, all the grass is getting hit, nothing's getting overwatered or underwatered, but I just didn't get to that. Now I got to focus on my new house, and I'm excited because now I actually get to enjoy my new house for longer now, not just a month, then I'm back to the old place. I don't like traveling. I'm getting a little bit more used to this long drive that I have to do. You know, it's like a 7.5 hour drive. I guess maybe 8 hours if you include stops. But I've done it 5 times the past 2 months, I think. Yeah, maybe 10 weeks. And, it does. I think it's been about, 8-9 weeks. I've done this 5 times, and hopefully I won't have to do it again for a while. I'd rather just take a 45-minute flight, provided the stupid pandemic renders it safer. So, I spent most of the trip listening to Green Day, because as soon as I get back, I'm going to record the actual video of my ranked and reviewed for Green Day. I recently put up, I think this month I put up Bring Me the Horizon, Blink-182, and Memphis May Fire. For this week, which I think will be the last day of the month, maybe the first day of August, I don't know, this Friday, I'll have Green Day ranked and reviewed up, and I think that's, what is that, 13 albums? And I own like 6 or 7 now. But I had watched the Quattro documentary, which is basically just the Uno Dos Tres trilogy, the studio documentary behind that. And I had a feeling that it would give me a deeper appreciation for that era, and it did. You know, Green Day is one of my favorite bands, and I noticed a lot of people put those 3 albums towards the bottom. You know, I might end up doing that too, but it doesn't mean I don't appreciate them. But I was like, man, when am I going to get to a band? Because, I've done about 33 videos, ranked and reviewed, and they're all bands I like or love. So, I think aside from like a Bring Me the Horizon album or whatever, I haven't really come across any albums that I hate or really like intensely dislike or anything. So I was like, you know what? Attila just put out a new album. Maybe I should do a ranked and reviewed on their 8 albums, because what if that was a modern metalcore band that was very polarizing, that has an album that I don't think aged very well. And because I'd heard some of their recent singles and I thought they sucked. I was like, Jesus, Attila has really, quality's really gone down over the past few years. But I did like them quite a bit in the early 2010s. But that's the band I'm going to do next. I'm already about halfway through their discography. And I'm going to finish off my listening with their new album. So it'll be the first album I've done in a while, or the first band I've done in a while that I'm doing a video right as they released a new album or something. And those videos tend to perform better, I think. But I was also thinking, I'd done Amir and I'd done Bring Me the Horizon, 2 other polarizing bands. Why not finish the trifecta and do Attila? Because Attila, Bring Me the Horizon, Amir, and maybe some others, but mostly those 3. Those are bands that people love to hate. And, at one point or another, I certainly didn't like them. At one point, I thought Amir was trash when I first listened to them. I probably thought Attila was trash too. And then Bring Me the Horizon, I don't think I ever hated them. I just, kind of phased in and out of liking them. But may as well cap off the polarizing bands with Attila, because I actually did listen to them quite a bit back in the day. But I typically only do bands that I actually listen to or I actually know a thing or two about, so I will not be doing old bands like Broken Side or Blood on the Dance Floor, any of those MySpace bands that just sucked, or they had possibly child sex or assault going on with minors. I'm not dealing with. I think that's something that I heard or read about Blood on the Dance Floor. So I was like, yeah, you should try not to support artists like that, whether I like their music or not. I mean, what are you gonna do? But yeah, there were bands that I was into back in the day that were just kind of trendy or part of the MySpace era or whatever that I haven't listened to ever since, 303 or what else? Different genre, but Job for a Cowboy. Still like that band. I just haven't listened to them in a while. But I actually really like them. But anyway, what am I, 7 minutes in? About 8 minutes in? So yeah, I'm excited to get home. Actually, play some guitar again. Get back to work. Get back on a decent work cycle, because I don't know if I mentioned this in an upcoming clip, but I've just been having a hard time getting into a groove in my new space, because first of all, you have to move into it, you have to unpack, you have to set everything up, you have to organize it, make sure it's clean so that you can actually function within it. And then right as I started to have a week to do that, I have to go back up to my old stomping grounds for a week. And frankly, even though I had my work stuff with me, I didn't do any work. I was like, I think I'm just going to take a break. But I would hardly call it a break, because I was still doing a bunch of work around the house. And believe it or not, I consider socializing at times to be work. To me, a break is leave me the fuck alone for a day or for a few days. I don't have to, no social obligations, no anything. And look, whether it's family events or friends who are vaccinated or whatever, it is nice to see people. I'm a human being. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a human being. I do get fulfilled from seeing people, but I tap out pretty quickly, or my cup gets filled pretty quickly. So to go back to back to back to back, seeing people, it's exhausting. So, last night we saw some friends, but instead of spending, a couple hours with them, I just popped in for half an hour, had a virgin cocktail or a mocktail, and said, all right, I'll let y'all be. I'm going to go sleep. So, I was like, oh yeah, you're allowed to do that. You don't have to go make a big thing out of every get-together. You can actually just go say hi for a minute and just leave. Functions don't have to all be highly organized or have an end game or something like that, but it's pretty rare where if I go hang out with somebody, I'm not already the first person to start looking at my watch or my phone thinking, all right, let's call it a day. And again, it's not because I don't like people or I don't care about people. It's just because I'm a very private person with a podcast. No, I'm just a very hyper-individualistic person. I don't let my worldview or my voting record be dictated by that, but like in terms of how I carry myself day to day, I'm a very solo person. Or small group, less than 4 people. Or just one-on-one. Like, I like hanging out with just one person at a time. Like, I really like that. What I think people don't get about the difference between introverts and extroverts is extroverts can be shy and introverts can be outgoing. Introvert does not mean you're shy, and extrovert doesn't mean you are a public speaker who's never afraid to talk to people. No. It depends on where you get your energy from. Extroverts thrive in busy environments, and they usually don't have issues staying out late because if they're out with people, that's giving them energy. Introverts get their energy, they recharge in private. So that's me. So if I go a long time without seeing somebody or doing something social, I actually get a little depressed. It gets a little bit lonely. Or like if my wife goes visit somebody for a while and I have the house to myself, I get a little lonely after a few days. The first day or two, it's like, yeah! But, anyway, I'm just kind of giving you a little insight into my life on this here JayDennis Podcast. I might do another clip or two while I'm on the road. I think I'm about more than halfway back up. I had to kind of, not choke down, but I had to carefully eat a Porta Subs sub while I was driving. They don't individually wrap their halves. I always get a foot long. You want to split a foot long? No! I ate the whole sub myself. But Subway, they do individually wrap them. So the Subway subs, even though the quality's not as high, they're easier to eat on the go. But, when I do these road trips, I just like to be done as soon as possible. Have a bathroom break maybe once or twice. If I got to let the dog out once or twice, fine. But I like to just be done. I don't like to meander. I just want to go home and get back to my shit, yo. Yo, still Tuesday the 27th. Now it's about 6 o'clock at night. I'm about at the end of my road trip back home. And holy shit, I just came across like a terrible accident that just like bottlenecked traffic for a minute there. But I'm at the home stretch last 10 minutes, so it's safe now. I'm just going to record this here clip. What did I do on the way home? I listened to a couple podcasts, listened to 2 episodes of Monday Morning Podcast from Bill Burr, an episode and a half of Everybody's Awful, Jim Florentine. But the one that really got me, and I'm really glad I downloaded it and I also have it saved, is Jason Tartick from The Bachelor has a finance podcast called Trading Secrets. And he had fucking Rob Dyrdek on, man. I don't know if I've ever talked about him on this podcast, but Rob Dyrdek is one of my favorite people. I watched the only one of his shows that I didn't really watch just because I couldn't really find it airing, although I'm sure if I looked harder now I could certainly find it, is Robin Big. But like I watched Fantasy Factory, I watched most of Ridiculousness up until like 2015 or 16. Haven't really watched any new episodes since, but I love the shit out of that show. And just the freaking powerhouse that Rob Dyrdek is with his personality, his business acumen, his good energy, his humility. I know it's kind of weird for me to talk about humility, even though I try myself to be, as humble as I can be, but, I think being fake humble is worse than being arrogant. But he seems like authentically, like, humble, like, really grounded, down to earth, and, it's solid. There's a reason why, no matter what walk of life you come from, that's a desirable trait. But I felt pretty validated in what I was listening to, and it really made me want to get back up on the horse and take some of these disciplines seriously. He was really talking about gamifying his life. where he keeps score, he tracks everything, and it sounds like he has a far more sophisticated system than I do. But just like with regards to how he keeps track of his marriage, his level of happiness, his disciplines, his business, and everything, it just made me really want to get back home in these next 10 minutes. And, you know, after I shower and take a little break from driving 8 hours, really hit the ground running this evening and tomorrow. I was like, shit, tomorrow I actually have to go to a business networking group. And as far as I know, it's a very safe group, so I'm not worried about pandemic or anything. I'm kind of ready to get back out there and start seeing people in person again. Meet some potential business referrals. And yeah, man, just getting back to the gym and getting creative, but also like really getting serious about my meditation and my other personal habits. And I know I just said most importantly, but when I really say most importantly, I mean like my fucking money making, man. And I kind of just want to start thinking about life beyond my current career. Like, I want to retire from my current career, but what am I gonna... I've had a game plan and an idea of how all my creative and professional stuff is kind of intertwined, but like, how am I really going to expand upon this further, and what do I really want like a long-term plan to be, to where I can have X amount of assets or money by age 40? What do I really want to accomplish between the ages of 30 and 40? And, you know, I can clearly say with pure gratitude that I have all the resources I need to make it happen. Like, and I have some massive advantages and some solid help. And, you know, the big thing he was talking about was really knowing what you want the outcome of life to be and being in control of destiny as much as possible. And that's all excellent. And, you know, I agree with that. And I also simultaneously agree that some people have the odds stacked against them. So, you know, I really don't think you can just mindset your way out of anything. I think there's also barriers put into place for certain people. But I kind of want to use my advantages and my stuff and really lean into it and try to help people and, of course, help myself and my family as well. But yeah, I'm just really ready to get home. I've been sitting all day. I shouldn't have been wearing flip-flops. Like, my fucking heel is really sore from being like on the floor of my car this whole time with like really no cushions. Like, my freaking right heel is like killing me. I'm sure my dog is ready to get the hell out of this car too. And yeah, I'm really, you know, in the same vein of like motivation and like aspirational greatness and just kind of like legendary legacy. I don't know if I mentioned this on the last podcast or anything, but I started watching The Last Dance, the Chicago Bulls special on Netflix. It's like a 10-episode series where, you know, they talk about the freaking pretty much the greatest NBA team of all time, the dynasty, late 80s, 90s Bulls, which I grew up as a young kid watching. But I never really knew everything about, you know, what was going on. I mean, again, I was a little kid, but it didn't occur to me that people had lives before I saw them on TV. I didn't know who Phil Jackson was until I saw him coaching the Lakers. It hadn't occurred to me till I was older. Oh my God, he also coached the Bulls? Is there any team he didn't stick his hand in and make great? But same thing with politicians. I didn't realize that politicians had lives before, or political careers before being like the president or the vice president or the, I don't know. Your brain works funny when you're a kid sometimes. But it's all compounding and just making me, kind of giving me another zest for life. And making the most of what I have, you know? Cutting back on the junk food. Even though I'm by no means a heavy drinker, still cutting back on the alcohol. Because, you know, it kind of lowers your testosterone and it raises your cortisol, and just, you know, even if you go to the gym and you're otherwise a healthy person, it's a depressant. So, like, really kind of picking and choosing when to savor it instead of just drinking casually or having a couple beers per week, maybe just really trying to stay clean and stay pure, because I found, for the most part, when I stay that way in more than one respect, the quality of my life jumps up quite a bit, and so does my energy. So, I mean, I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with having a vice or two. I'm just saying, depending on your level of being able to keep it in check, or if you have an addictive personality, or if you have a, not very strong will, maybe a drink to somebody once a week might be a lot different than somebody else. And I just personally prefer to stay happy, healthy, sharp, and energized. But I also like to chill and relax, and sometimes that shit helps. Same thing with the edibles. I'm not going to slut shame weed smokers. Anyway, I think that's the podcast. There might be one other clip coming up. This is all from today, at least. So thanks for listening. Maybe I'll start getting back into playing guitar or playing some teasers between clips, so that this thing has some semblance of production behind it, but at least I'm somewhat consistently putting these up every week. And of course, I'm going to have some ranked in reviews coming out as well. Subscribe to the channel. Help me build my vision and my empire. And I will talk to y'all soon. What day is it? Yo, it's Monday, July 26th, 2021, about 8 o'clock. Up here in Reno. Just, a couple weeks out after moving into my new house, already back to my old stomping grounds of Walmart, because the dog food I buy and make only lasts usually around like 6 days, and we're here for a week, so I had to bring down the stuff like the food processor and baking trays to actually make the food. So there I am. It's smoky as fuck out here. For those who don't believe climate change is real, we're fucking living in it. These past couple of summers have definitely proved that, and this current summer is definitely proving it. How can we put reality so in your face, and yet people deny it? We were talking to our friends last night who were vaccinated. We were talking to our friends, and we were talking about the cognitive dissonance and the hypocrisy of people who were saying, oh, the virus wasn't a big deal because 99% of people who catch it are okay. Completely ignoring like long COVID or morbidities or everlasting side effects. But then, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know that they're just a simple fraction of each other. They're like exponential of each other at some point. But basically, they'll flip it around and they'll say, oh, well, the vaccine's not safe because a tiny percentage of people have had breakthrough cases or have had adverse side effects, which breakthrough cases doesn't mean they got sick. It just means they tested positive. And nobody ever said the vaccine was 100% effective. It's just mostly effective. And that is demonstrated by the fact that as soon as the rollout started happening, cases plummeted. But then we got a new highly contagious variant out there that's mostly fucking with people who refuse to get a vaccine. So they'll take, so basically they're saying, because how many hundreds of tens of millions of people have gotten the vaccine, and the amount of adverse side effects from the vaccine is significantly smaller than the number of people who died from I don't remember the exact number. I forgot if it was like 35 million cases or something, 600,000 deaths. That number that ratio was a lot larger than what? I'm just guessing here. What are we at about 70%? We're almost at about 70% of the general population, almost one vaccine. So 200 million. We're already looking at 6 to 7 times more vaccines distributed than cases, if my numbers are accurate. And are there 600,000 deaths or sicknesses or hospitalizations from the vaccines? No! Like, cut most of the zeros off of that 600,000, and there's your vaccine danger there for you. Again, it's an inverse. The number of vaccines administered are significantly higher than the amount of cases had, but the adverse side effects from the vaccine are significantly lower than the deaths from the lower amount of cases. And none of you motherfuckers are doctors, medical professionals, but you seek your advice from people who shan't be giving it. And I'm driving around in a smoky-filled horizon. Can't even see the mountains because wildfire season is getting significantly worse. Now, I don't have to really deal with this in Vegas, but I am dealing with some extreme heat down there. And I'm just really tired of it. It's not just recent history. You know, Donald Trump definitely threw a bunch of matches on an already existing fire, or poured gasoline on it, rather, and, you know, tried to pee it out with his gasoline piss. But the whole anti-intellectualism, just the idea of being educated, the idea of being an expert in your field, the idea of having authority, a lot of that has gone out the window with the onset of the internet, and it's harder to find like real journalism these days. It's still around. There's still plenty of outlets where you can get like actual real journalism, but most people seek to get their opinions from opinion hosts, from commentators, from talking heads, you know, pundits that aren't really reporting on news, but they are giving commentary. They're giving their opinion, and they can't be sued because they're just giving their hyperbolic opinion. But here's the thing, Nancy. Most people don't want to think for themselves. Most people want to get their marching orders from somebody. And who better to get it from than people who like to spread fear, lies, very surface level, non-nuanced perspective, and basically just assure that everything they say, or at least enough of what they say, is a self-fulfilling prophecy, to the point where they can keep the eyeballs on the screen, keep the ad revenue coming in, keep the ratings. And again, it's complicated, but not really. Because the truth is, if you just took money out of certain industries, you took money out of certain areas of our economy, and again, like I said, certain industries, that would solve a lot of problems. The news media should not be for profit. The healthcare industry should not be for profit. Education should not be for profit. Prisons shouldn't be for profit. I have like 3 other industries that I can think of, at least. That I usually rattle off. But money has ruined all of those. Money shouldn't be in politics. Because despite the will of the people, despite the will of the constituents, despite bipartisan support for policy, which has gone to the wayside on the right side, they don't talk about policy anymore. They just talk about culture issues. They just talk about outrage. And they just talk about shit that doesn't actually fucking matter. Critical race theory, Dr. Seuss. Shit doesn't affect you, and it's predominantly not real. And this guy I follow who's bitching about being censored, I'm like, nah, dude, you reap what you sow. You're going to spread dangerous misinformation that can get people hurt. Guess what? Social media companies are going to kinda filter you out of the equation a little bit because they don't want to be sued. And your information isn't helping their bottom line. It's actually hurting it. So all these right-wingers that like to bitch about being censored, which most of the time they're not, they're still predominantly the most viewed and shared sources on the internet. But that's the thing, though. That's how they get their way. They're the loudest. They're the biggest victim mentality. They're typically the most privileged and happy and well-off and generally the least affected by actual societal problems. But because they have billionaire funding, because they have a very highly organized, yet, it's a minority. They have a highly organized propaganda machine that is weaving its way through social media, and of course has been weaving its way through the airwaves since the days of Fox News or Rush Limbaugh first starting out. It's all been compounding, and a lot of it's coming to a head, and that's why I talk about it so much, because I'm living with it. Now, as a straight white man, I've hit the lottery, and I'm essentially immune to a lot of this stuff, but I'm not immune to, if I have a bad medical accident, being medically bankrupted, having my shit go to collections. Like, I'm just lucky that to this day I've been healthy, but I know that if the wrong thing were to happen, I could still find myself in a hell of a predicament, because there are plenty of straight white people, white men around the country that are on welfare. In fact, they make up the majority of the being on the receiving end of it. And I don't condemn them for that. I think it's funny when they turn around and bitch about colored people getting welfare. I mean, shit, I knew people who complained about Mexicans coming and taking jobs and taking rent, yet they're the people that are renting out the places to them, because guess what? They need the money. Why are they taking the jobs? Why are you not bitching at the people that are actually hiring them under the table? It's not them who need the money to feed their families just like you. It's the people that are creating the jobs, hiring them, paying them under the table, saving money, and therefore increasing shareholder revenue because they've cut expenses, which is another law that we need to abolish. This whole notion that it is like the law for corporations to have to be profitable. Oh my God, can you pay attention? Yeah, it's actually a law where corporations have to be profitable or maximize shareholder revenue by like any means necessary. That's why jobs are outsourced. But then again, with propaganda news, they don't want to blame the corporations because they're the ones that are funding the networks with their ad money. They want to blame China. They want to blame other countries. They want to get pissed off when they call AT&T customer service and they get an Indonesian guy or gal on the phone. And yet they can speak better English than you can, probably. You just can't understand it because of the accent. So it just really pisses me off that, I'm only so intelligent, I'm only so smart, but I like to think I'm pretty educated. I try to stay on top of things. I know quite a bit about a lot of subjects, but then there's a shit ton of stuff I don't know about anything. I was terrible at science in school, so I don't even pretend or attempt to act like I know more than medical doctors or epidemiologists or Anthony Fauci, who has been a non-issue for like 90% of his career until that fucking orange asshole came around and put a target on his back. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the podcast.